Welcome everyone to the proposal review call. Today we have a few updates in regards to the Security Council bridge funding proposal, as well as the Security Council V2 proposal that was posted on the forum earlier this week. And then after we go over those, Rafa and I will provide a little overview, a little presentation on governance bodies and governance infrastructure based on conversations and requests that we've gotten over the last few weeks and kind of around the discussions for the Security Council funding. We wanted to make sure we made some time today to go over these in a little bit more detail and provide a chance also to ask questions as well. So we'll kick it off here. Alicia, if you want to start with the with TPP-5, the Security Council bridge funding proposal that just passed on chain.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have much to say about this apart from that we should be able to execute tomorrow, and then we'll probably look to kind of start using the cat mint in early next week, and then we can post an update, I would say hopefully by the end of next week, once everything has been distributed and kind of executed. But any questions on TPP-5?
No? Okay. Great. Then we can move on to the draft for the Security Council V2 funding proposal, Alicia.
Cool. Okay, so if you just scroll down a smidge to the like the abstract and motivation, yeah, that bit. Okay, so this basically sums it up. Oh, perfect. It's very succinct. So as promised, I think on the call a couple of weeks ago, I mentioned that the veto of the Security Council would be a much more lean version of the Security Council, and so this reflects that. So the request is made at 4 cents. I just want to kind of call this out explicitly, and this is the same as TPP-5, and again, just to acknowledge the volatility of the token price in 2025, and then the basis is still the same, which is that this whole proposal is denominated in USD, which means that if the token is at a price higher than 4 cents, then only an amount required at the time in USD will be minted, and any excess will not be minted. I think that's normally like the number one question that comes up around, like what happens when the price of the token doubles and things like that. So it was very intentional that this proposal was denominated in USD. A big change to the Security Council, I guess, like contracts that the members have, is that while there are still 12 members, 8 entities and 4 individuals, you'll see that we no longer have a 15-minute and 1 hour SLA kind of tier for the entities, but instead have a flat 6 hour for entities and 9 hours for individuals. And the purpose of this is to align the response time with the compensation. So the monthly comp is at 8K for entities and 5K for individuals. And basically anything more than 6 hours would get quite demanding for entities to kind of participate at that level with. And so the priority here was like the token request and keeping that within a number that we thought would be acceptable for the token assembly. And then also just this point about standard operating procedures, to counter kind of this idea, or this fear maybe, that the token assembly might have, that because it's a 6 hour SLA, entities might not be as responsive as they previously were. I guess the whole reason that we felt comfortable moving to a 6 hour SLA is that we found that in a day-to-day kind of practical sense, or in an emergency scenario, entities and individuals responded within 60 minutes anyways. So the idea is to create the standard operating procedures as kind of just like a social convention that the Security Council members are opting into voluntarily to, be responsive within effectively like 60 minutes if they're online and available. And I'll just remind people that the thresholds are 6 out of 12 for a governance proposal, and 3 out of 12 for a soft freeze, and 9 out of 12 for a hard freeze, and then 9 out of 12 for an emergency upgrade. And so the idea is that even if 1 or 2 people on the Security Council can't respond like very, very quickly, the whole point of having 12 signers is that you build in a redundancy. So we still feel really confident that the Security Council will continue to operate at a really high level. Questions? And Shelby, can you tell me if there's anything in the chat, because I can't see it?
Yeah, no, for sure. No, nothing in the chat. Yeah, thank you, Alicia, for providing the overview here. Would be curious to hear if anyone had any questions. I just know, based on the last two proposal review calls where the Security Council budget was discussed, it was more the old Security Council budget and the bridge funding proposal specifically. The main concern from delegates that was raised was around cost. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this new format or this new structure, Alicia, it brings down annual costs of the Security Council from like 2.5 million approximately down to 1.1, which is a significant decrease in funding, which was kind of the request or main concern from delegates. So for any delegates on the call, I'd be curious if there were any outstanding concerns that are still there, or in regards to cost, or maybe anything else that Alicia just reviewed in the proposal.
Yeah, and I'll just point out that 60% of the previous signer budget was accounted for by the 15-minute SLA tier. And so by getting rid of that and then even kind of going further and reducing that second entity tier, I think it makes it a lot more palatable in terms of a total token price for this kind of service that is being provided to governance.
Great. Tino.
Yeah, no, just want to say that it looks really good. It looks really good. And I think that if we have this time of responses, I think we are going to be good. So all the concerns that we have in our previous comments and rationales and everything, I think they were addressed. So really happy with it.
Great, thanks for sharing that, Tino. And also, Ivy, I see, commented in the chat as well. Happy to hear that so far. Obviously, as you're reviewing it or as you read it in more detail, please, call anything else out so that we can further discuss. But Alicia, is there anything in regards to timeline? Is there anything to share maybe in regards to timeline and expectations?
Yeah. So the goal is to kind of put this on chain tomorrow, Thursday, and then it'll have a 7-day vote delay, and then voting will start the following Thursday. So that's the plan. And obviously this is like a very straightforward cat minter situation as well. It's like a single cat minter. The token assembly will be the admin on this one. And yeah, so there's nothing like too crazy from a technical perspective. And again, I think that kind of the CGov comment is mimicked by a bunch of delegates so far. And so the response has been kind of generally positive, and we don't anticipate we anticipate that it will be a straightforward proposal once it goes on chain. But yeah, happy to answer any questions that might come up.
Great. Thank you so much, Alicia. Appreciate you hopping on and going over both of the updates on these proposals for the Security Council. If there are no other questions in regards to TPP-5 or the new TPP draft for the Security Council V2 funding, we can move on to the governance body and infra overview presentation. So again, this, given recent discussions, specifically around the Security Council funding proposals, and also requests that we've heard from multiple folks, wanting more information or wanting to understand a little bit more about expectations around funding or where funding should come from for these critical governance bodies and also for critical governance infrastructure. So that will be the focus of the presentation today, of what the governance team likes to call is just general governance sustainability. So to kick us off, when governance launched in September of 2024, the ZKsync Foundation bootstrapped the setup of these critical governance bodies, so the Security Council and the Guardians, and any essential infrastructure that was needed. So, voting interfaces or smart contract development, documentation creation, all of that stuff. This initial funding would be used to launch and then also help to give time to validate the governance system that was being deployed at launch. The governance system that was deployed was designed specifically with the community in mind, in the sense that we wanted to make sure that the community was equipped with reliable governance infrastructure, resources to understand the governance system, as well as to provide things that some folks might forget about, including regulatory compliance and other legal resources and resources and infrastructure as well. This also to make sure that the governance bodies that were going to now have this power in the governance system, so Guardians and Security Council, were equipped with members who are qualified, active, and also engaged in the ongoing operations of ZKsync governance. And the bootstrapping of those bodies was always intended to be a temporary measure, knowing that in mature ecosystems, long-term funding for governance infrastructure is usually transitioned to the community in order to ensure independence from any centralized entities or actors within the ecosystem. Now, the way that the three-body governance structure was designed for ZKsync governance was designed to have that independence of each entity or of each governance body like instilled in the structure itself. An independent security council and an independent group of guardians is really critical to ensure accountability between different governance bodies, neutrality, and also to make sure you have the checks and balances in place to make sure that no single body can have too much power and gain too much power in the system. So now that we've validated that the governance system works as it's meant to work, this transition, the next step is essentially this transition to help approve the funding scope and participation of these different governance bodies and ensure that everybody's aligned on the critical governance infrastructure going forward as well.
I just wanted to add one thing. So it's really important to note that what we were trying to make sure, particularly how the governance system works, for the decentralized process of basically running the protocol operates and we also run proposals. What we found is that the governance system does work, but as, for example, we pointed out with the Security Council, like restructuring was appropriate. So one of the things that we don't want to do is we don't want to basically submit proposals for infrastructure that doesn't work or governance bodies which are not fit for purpose. What we want to make sure now is that the sustainability for the next year or so is actually fit for purpose. So I think that's really important to keep in mind. We validated the system, and now what we want to do is make sure that that system can run well for the next year.
Yes, exactly. And the presentation that you're about to see is really just a reminder. It's not going to be anything new. All of the information, most or if not all of the information that we'll go over today already exists on the docs or was announced like in an announcement blog post for the different governance bodies, etc. So none of it will be new, but I think it's a good point in time to do kind of a refresher or a reminder of folks, especially delegates in the token assembly, to understand the also power dynamics between the three governance bodies and how we all fit together in the approval and accountability process to have between each of them as well. So wanted to set the scene a little bit before we just dive into reviewing all of these. But yeah, so just to kick us off then, we're actually going to start with the governance bodies. So as we know, there are three, the token assembly, so delegates and token holders, Security Council, and guardians. We're going to start with the Security Council, which is the governance body that was designed to safeguard the security of the ZKsync protocol, as well as components of the ZKsync ecosystem that are governed by the protocol governor proposals. So the Security Council, as Alicia just mentioned, consists of 12 technical experts, individuals, and entities who are signers of the multisig that has the power to perform certain standard and emergency actions. And what that just a reminder of what that is in terms of standard actions. The Security Council is in charge of approving protocol upgrades that are passed and approved by the token assembly. And the emergency actions we also can discuss in a bit. But the main thing we wanted to focus on today was going a little bit more over the structure of the Security Council and some of the details in that. So as we mentioned, 12 members, and each of the members of the Security Council have legal obligations tied to their role. And they're actually also governed by the contractual agreements entered into between each individual member and the Security Council entity itself. And they're also governed by the bylaws of the Security Council entity. And as a reminder, you can always find those bylaws at docs.zknation.io under Schedule 3, which is the Security Council, and then under Section 2, that you see on the screen here, and you see Section 2B, there's a link to the bylaws. So you can always find those there as well. The costs for the Security Council aren't outlined here, but we've been discussing them for the last few weeks and also just went over today. This new V2 proposal will reduce costs for the Security Council to about 1.1 million, down from about $2.5 million per year. So this is and as Alicia mentioned, the kind of like main reason for that cost drop is the restructuring of the SLA structure for different members within the Security Council. The next piece we wanted to highlight here was the Security Council member selection, or remind folks where this information lives, because it's actually not directly in the docs, but it is in the announcement blog post for the Security Council that was posted back in September of 2024. So Security Council members were selected based on their technical expertise, geographical distribution, and the strengths of their reputation within the Ethereum ecosystem. So ZKsync has a professional Security Council in that sense. And yeah, you can find that in that blog post specifically. The next few pieces we wanted to highlight here were the removal and also replacement of Security Council members. Specifically because this is where the token assembly and delegates have some specific power over the Security Council. So the token assembly can choose to remove a Security Council member at any time, and they can do that by passing a protocol governor proposal. In terms of the replacement process and addition of a Security Council member to the Security Council, the selection of that member is outlined here. There's a board of the Security Council Foundation will recommend candidates, but to officially add those candidates to the Security Council and to the Security Council multisig, that also is a governance proposal as well that has to be passed by the token assembly. So, and I think this may have been forgotten or might not have been as clear in the beginning. So we really just wanted to make sure we highlighted that piece during this presentation as well. Any questions in regards to the Security Council, their role, responsibilities, the structure, etc.? Okay. Then we'll move on to Guardians. So Guardians, as we know, are a group of folks who are essentially responsible for ensuring that anything that goes through governance, or all proposals that go through governance, are in line with the ZK Credo. The ZK Credo is kind of ZKsync governance, ZKsync's constitution, and how outlines the mission that we're all collectively trying to achieve. And the Guardians ensure that governance is also in line with achieving that mission. So the Guardians consist of 8 individuals or signers, and they have the ability to exercise veto powers over any governance proposal. So all three governance proposal types. The membership of the Guardians is outlined here in the docs, but the selection is also something that is not in the docs, but again in that announcement blog post that can be found at blog.zknation.io. This was posted in September 2024 as well of last year, and this outlines all of the kind of selection criteria. This list is a lot longer than the Security Council one, but essentially you can think of the Guardians as like who is very in tuned with the ZKsync ecosystem, who is like a cypherpunk to their core, and who will be an absolute warrior for ZKsync and ZKsync governance to ensure that the credo is followed and enacted in governance decisions. So you can find more information there. You can read it in detail later. And just as we went over the Security Council, we wanted to make sure we looked at the removal and replacement process for Guardians as well. Very similar to the Security Council, the removal of a Guardian can be done by passing a protocol governor proposal, and same with replacement. Any recommended candidate can be added to the Guardians multisig by passing a protocol governor proposal as well. So again, wanted to pause here. Any questions in regards to Guardians, their role, structure, power the token assembly has over the Guardian? Here's it all. Yeah, Rafa.
So one thing that I would like to add is that with this Security Council proposal that's coming through, and with the next Guardians, one of the things that's going to happen is making sure that the current composition is basically listed and people are aware. So you're kind of making sure that the entire token assembly that's voting on this has clarity on the composition through official votes. I just wanted to highlight that. So if you do have questions about the specific members of the Security Council, you can also just add them to the post and ask. And similar to if you have questions about the Guardians, you can do the same.
Yeah, Ivy.
Just out of curiosity, I guess, do the Guardians are expected to respond in any given time frame, or like their role is not tied to an emergency itself, only just like a veto once the proposal is executed?
The Guardians can only execute a veto during specific time periods. So they can execute a veto on a protocol upgrade during kind of like there's like a 3-day window, I believe. And for token and governance advisory programs, they can only do it during the delay period and the voting period. So although there aren't specific like SLAs specifically for the Guardians, the timelines are strictly enforced in the governance.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so this is a diagram that was added to the docs recently in the recent like docs revamp. And this shows you here, so for ZIPs, legal veto window of 3 days, and then the Guardian veto window for TPPs and gaps is from the start of the voting delay to the end of the voting period. So that's kind of their built-in deadline that's hard-coded into the system. 4 standard governance procedures. There's also emergency procedures, and the Guardians, just as the Security Council, are one of the members of the Emergency Upgrade Board, and there's also, if there's an emergency action that's needed, there's deadlines and expectations coordinated, discussed and coordinated around that as needed for the Guardians. Great. Okay. So if there are no other questions in regards to the Security Council or the Guardians, we can move on to governance infra. So this isn't something we've talked about specifically or explicitly, I believe, in the past, but it is kind of just one of those like meta things. Infra in general is not the sexiest topic and often gets forgotten, but is an extremely critical piece of any governance system, because if you don't have it or it doesn't work, it's hard to use and hard to rely on. So we just wanted to take some time to highlight some of the critical pieces of governance infrastructure for the ZKsync governance system today. And they can kind of be broken down into 4 primary categories like you see on the screen here. So governance contracts for protocol and token coordination. So this includes all of the governor contracts, so that we have 3, the protocol governor, token governor, and the GovOps governor, as well as the time lock contracts, the ZK token contract itself, all of the cat mentor contracts that make it possible for the ZKsync ecosystem to mint ZK to use for different initiatives, and any related L1 contract, execution contracts as well, for governance execution of ZIPs. So yeah, just kind of think of any smart contract related to governance. It falls under this bucket of governance infrastructure. And things that if in the future, like going forward, if these are all pretty set at the moment, but if things need to change in the future, this would also fall under this bucket. So let's say, for example, we want to change a governance parameter on one of the contracts. That would kind of be included in this bucket. Say we want to do cat mentor v3 in the future to enable even more functionality or parameters to be specified within a cat mentor contract within a factory. That would be also included in this bucket. All of the mentor mods, etc., things like that are included in this bucket as well. So it's not only like maintenance, but also development, and provides the community with like flexibility to be able to change things and adapt as needed. In regards to the second bucket, we have governance interfaces and participation pooling. So think the canonical governance interface or the tele interface that a lot of folks delegate and vote through, or submit a proposal through. Think of the governance forum, GitHub repos, the website, maintenance, documentation, maintenance, resource creation, all of that, all of the communication channels, the RSS feed development, and any other related interface that is needed or used for governance actions or governance communication. That falls into this bucket and is also an important bucket that I think people also forget sometimes isn't free to use some of these interfaces and resources. So that's the second bucket. And then the third is security infrastructure for protocol and token safety. So continued security efforts related to monitoring, assessment frameworks, reviews, audits, security rehearsals. For example, the Guardian rehearsal that just took place a few weeks ago would be included in this. Anything to make sure that the governance system is safe and secure and working as it is meant to be, that is falling under that bucket. And then operational and legal infrastructure for decentralized execution. So think maintaining legal entities. So the ZKsync Association plays a very critical legal role in ZKsync governance, and is also where a lot of the delegates are members for, extraordinary members of, to provide a layer of liability protection for members, to help meet regulatory requirements and make sure that ZKsync or the ZK token are meeting any regulatory requirements. So this would be things like creating a MiCA white paper for the ZK token. A lot of other related operational and legal contract management for ZK GPS, the Guardians, and token programs, etc. So this is, again, not the sexiest topic or thing to talk about, but these are all very critical buckets of examples of infrastructure that's needed to make the ZKsync governance system work the way it does. So we wanted to just provide an overview of those in case a lot of folks may be unfamiliar. And then the last piece I'll share here is in regards to the management of this infra. So the ZKsync Association, and specifically the governance team, manages and maintains all of this critical infrastructure that I just mentioned. So this, in how we manage it, or what that actually looks like, is this is like management of like legal contracts, management of smart contract deployment and monitoring, supporting our support requests and other maintenance. So if you have a problem voting on Tally for whatever reason, we help coordinate with Tally to make sure that you can get that fixed, for example, in coordinating a few feature improvements. So this would be like creating better, or like Cabinter v3 contracts, for example, or helping upgrade the governance parameters for a specific one, like for one of the specific governors, for example, if that's what the community wants. And some folks may be wondering why is the ZKsync Association doing this? Why is this their responsibility? Well, it's actually the ZKsync Association is meant to be, or is designed to be, a neutral entity based on the fact that it's completely separate from the foundation and from Matter Labs, the DevCo, and its mandate is actually to be the utility provider for the ZKsync governance system and its governing bodies. So you need to have like a legal coordinator for infra and services. That is what the ZKsync Association, or one of the roles the ZKsync Association can play. Also, it helps ensure open access to different infra and resources, so like GitHub repos, docs, and also legal compliance related to regulation is another big one that folks may not be as aware of or think about as often as some of the other ones. So just to provide some context in regards to governance infra, any questions here or anything unclear maybe?
I think one of the important things here is it's not often that we can kind of get a sneak peek into all the background operations and how it works end to end into running kind of like governance. It's kind of cool to see the presentation end to end, seeing all the different bodies and all the different infrastructure that goes into this to really provide a seamless experience for like protocol upgrades and emergency actions to happen. If a lot of this is like, oh, that's cool, and it's maybe not necessarily top of mind, that means that we're doing our job right, because what we want to make sure is that it's kind of seamless in the background, all the infrastructure works, and it's kind of like you go to a website and you actually don't think about like all the different hosting structure and everything that's happening. You just kind of click on the button and it works. And that's kind of, at the end of the day, that's kind of what we're working towards, where the token assembly itself just has to press one button, just one vote to confirm and to review protocol upgrades, can easily ask questions and debate topics in the forum, and has a seamless experience end to end.
Yes. So, that's a good way to summarize it, Rafa. And also not only in regards to the governance infrastructure, but in that aspect of governance experience, but also for the Security Council and for the Guardians, that things just work. The Guardians with the rehearsal, they were able to prove that things work as they're meant to work. The Security Council has been has also proven like that things work in the sense that we have passed how many zips? I think officially because the two were repeated, I believe there was 9 like zips that have been passed already. And also there have been a few instances for emergency actions where the emergency upgrade body were able to act and function in a way that works. So yeah, this is just a kind of like a general overview of some of these critical bodies, and hopefully it's also understandable why, or it's clear why it's important for these functions, or for these to be funded, the different bodies and pieces of infrastructure. And yeah, we just wanted to make sure we took some time to talk about it, and also to highlight the transition, or I guess expectation of transition that will be coming as the ecosystem matures, and as we want to move towards further independence and decentralization of these different governance bodies. That funding and approval process and review process should go through the token assembly. So yes, thank you for sitting. Again, I know a lot of this stuff is not super exciting or super sexy. So thanks for bearing with us there. As a little treat or I guess reward for sitting through this somewhat boring presentation, we thought we would end the call today on just a little preview or sneak peek, I guess, of what the governance team believes will be kind of the direction for ecosystem going forward so far. If you've been paying attention to Twitter, you might be able to, you might already know this. I guess, are there any guesses of what this might be, or what the kind of focus, I guess, in the ecosystem will be? This is also like yeah, just more the governance team's hunch on this, and where we see just the most action lately. No guesses?
Spill the alpha.
Providium. If you haven't seen it on Twitter, it's been everywhere. There's also been a lot of super exciting announcements with Airbender. Airbender equals mind bending. So that's all been really exciting. But I think the main focus in terms of also like market impact that seems should be moving a lot is the announcements on Providium. This was a few weeks old now, but the Deutsche Bank announcement with Memento, which is one of the ZK chains, was really huge. But yeah, there just seems to be more and more announcements and discussions around Providium and the impact or potential that could have for more like institutional entities. So yeah, just wanted to throw that out there. And yeah, we'll hopefully see some clear direction or announcements coming in the future. But yeah, it was just kind of a fun call out we wanted to throw out here. I don't know if anybody has any comments or questions on that. I mean, questions we can't really answer. I guess we won't be able to answer a lot, but any comments on this that any folks have? Bullish on Providium. Yeah, when is Deutsche Bank, the day Deutsche Bank creates a discourse profile, I don't know, we have to do something special, or the day Deutsche Bank.
We do say that, but we're actually talking to Memento, who's kind of like the ZK chain working with Deutsche Bank. And hopefully they will make an appearance soon enough.
yeah, Memento actually has a delegate profile. So they just don't have a lot of voting power at the moment, but they do have a delegate profile. So yeah, and that also actually is a good point, a reminder too of some of the work that the governance team has been working on is trying to get in touch with some of these ZK chains across the Elastic network and try to get them onboarded to governance if they don't have a delegate profile or aren't participating on the forum, and also kind of get them excited and activated to be able to participate in governance. So yeah, hopefully we'll be able to get definitely Memento is high on the list of folks to activate, just given ZK chains have, you know, so much skin in the game in terms of a governance participant. So because the outcomes of proposals directly impact them and their success. So yeah, that's all we have for you folks today. But thank you for joining. And if anybody has, I guess, does anybody have anything else to raise or to discuss today? Okay, awesome, great. Well, thank you guys, and I hope you have a great rest of the week. Also, apologies for my voice. I don't know what is happening, but I think I need to go drink some tea after this. But yeah, we'll have the recording and notes posted by tomorrow, end of day. And yeah, we'll talk to you guys in 2 weeks. Bye, guys.